works are and are not from. Yeah. And one of his most important contributions was the concept of sunyata, or emptiness, and believed that sentient beings were devoid of a self and have no underlying essence. I was confused about all of that. Yeah. He was also important in the creation of the two truths doctrine, which states that there are two levels of reality within existence, one being an ultimate reality and one being a superficial reality.
Yeah.
And he also pronounced that the reality of our world is not an immaterial object, but is rather made up of the relationships between objects, and what he had to say about that stuff is very similar to modern views of quantum entanglement.
Quantum physics, right?
Yeah. That's all I got.
Good. That's just
Okay, the only thing I have to add to that is part of the philosophy was represented four positions. All things exist. Affirmation of being. All things do not exist. Affirmation of non-being. And notions of being. And all things both exist or do not exist. And all things neither exist or do not exist. So they kind of, I mean, pretty much, they just cancel each other out is the way I see it.
okay.
But, and the other thing was he was part of a very famous legend that he was befriended by Nagas, which are snake beings that live in the unseen realms. They appear in the Hindu and the Buddhist myths. The story is the Nagas had been guarding the sutras containing the teachings of the Buddha, which was hidden from mankind for a century. The Nagas gave the sutras and called them wisdom sutras. Am I saying it right, sutras? He took them back to the human world during enlightenment. He supposedly was the second Buddha.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I got other than what he said.
Thank
I can't believe I missed the snake being.
It was like considered a serpent king or something.
Yeah.
And lived, he went up to the mountains and lived for, let me see, he went up to the mountains and lived, right, didn't he? And they called it the dragon's place under the sea, I guess is where he was supposedly for like, kind of until he reached enlightenment.
Yeah. Yeah, you see that his pictures, he called it dragons that protect him. The Naga dragons, or Naga, or the serpent that protect him. According to legend, he went down to the sea.
Right. Okay.
To get this sutra, the professions of wisdom sutra, that's been guarded by the Naga. And he is considered as the second Buddha. You know why? Because he is the main one who initiated the Mahayana movement, Mahayana traditions of philosophy. And later on, when we talk about Zen traditions, Zen, Pure Land, Tantra, and so forth. All these traditions that belong to Mahayana tradition. They consider him as a patriarch, the one who initiates Zen, Pure Land, Tantra, and so forth traditions. So his role in Mahayana Buddhism is so important. That's why people consider him as second Buddha. And he wrote many commentaries and traceries about Mahayana tradition, especially the two truths that you just mentioned. And let me see. Yeah, he wrote down the concept of the emptiness that we're talking about today, Sunyata. This one here. And he wrote many different presidents, and especially he's the one who advocates what you call, relativities and the what do you call the middle way. Yeah, middle way. Okay, so and Dalai Lama follow one of these traditions that still exists up to now. Okay, so let's just a brief introduction about him. This is many books that talk about his life, especially his writing.
Is that, you're talking about Ashoka?
No, Ashoka is different.
Okay, who?
Ashoka is the king, an Indian king. He was a couple of years after Buddha passed away. Remember the one who carried the pillar and spread out around India and other places, other countries. He sent Buddhist missionaries to different countries. That's different. He's the king. But this one is the Buddhist philosopher.
Okay.
It's different. Okay. All right. So probably these two. This is the more confusion here, right? Okay. Let's move on. This one here, without him. Yes. We'll have to look at it.
I had a hard time with this one, but what I found out is that it's the sixth perfection in
Yeah.
the Pran, and it's called Prana Paramita,
Yes.
which means the perfection of wisdom.
Yes.
And it is said that it contains all the other perfections, and that you have to it's basically realization, which is the door to enlightenment, but you have to like go through emptiness in order to obtain wisdom, apparently.
Oh, okay.
And I also found one of the older texts. It was called, it was written around 100 BC. It was called The Perfection of Wisdom in 8,000 lines.
This one. Either 8,000, 80,000. This one. So what's the meaning of perfection of wisdom sutra? Wisdom. The word sutra way. Perfection of wisdom. What does it mean?
Profession of wisdom.
This confusion, right?
No, profession of wisdom.
That's why Narayana wrote this passage and mentioned about Sunnata, emptiness of truth.
Yeah, you would have to meditate on emptiness
Okay.
to.
Okay, how about this? Let's hear from other people first, other
Okay.
students first, and after that, we make the conclusion. Okay, and the next one, let me see here. Aaron is not here. Her sutra is delayed. So it's confusion for you too? Or you understand the concept now? You read my comment?
I did not get to read the comment yet.
Oh, really? Oh, that's okay. There's confusion?
I mean, I understand what they're trying to say, but I don't understand how it logically makes sense.
Okay. Okay. That's okay, no problem.
Basically, the Heart Sutra is the most cited sutra of all.
Mm-hmm.
In Sanskrit, the sutra is composed of 14 shlokas that contain 32 syllables each. In English, it has 16 sentences. It's
Yeah.
not very long.
Yeah.
There's much debate about where it originated and who the original author was. Edward Kantz, a Buddhist scholar, estimates it was from 350 CE. Recent scholars have said it's probably more like the 6th or 7th century.
Yeah.
And then there's debate about whether it was first written down in Sanskrit or Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
And it appears to be the experience of the Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara.
Mm-hmm.
And this Bodhisattva has been portrayed as a male and a female in different cultures and is considered to embody the compassion of all Buddhas. And the Heart Sutra, like one piece of it, I just looked at one sentence, like the first one, and it says, "Oh, Sariputra, form does not differ from the void does not differ from form. Form is void, and void is form. The same is true for feelings, perceptions, volitions, and consciousness. So it's trying to say that form is not different than the void, or nothingness, I guess.
It's different.
Yeah.
That's different. Emptiness here is different. Okay, let's just move on with Johan and to say something. So you can.
Well, I basically learned the same. I mean, basically have the same thing she did. I did in one of the ratings that you put on course. I found out that it was written somewhere between 200 and 250 CE, and they believe it was by a Chinese monk. But later, a Tibetan monk actually created a longer version of it. However, they still use a shorter version in the schools in Tibet. The two main areas that it focuses on are wisdom and then emptiness, is what I found from my research. I went and found the English version and kind of had a passage from it. I don't know if this is from the short or the long version, but I believe it's probably from the short version. It says, form is no different to emptiness, emptiness no different to form. That which forms emptiness, that which emptiness is form. So.
It's confusion, or you understand?
Well, I kind of took emptiness to be, I don't know, kind of like a form of detachment, and I kind of took form to be like a sort of attachment. So that's how I analyzed it.
The end, right? Oh, have you read anything about Profession of Wisdom Sutra?
Yes, I also
What
had mentioned it. It was, it was also, it sounds like it summed up most of what I had, but it was 8,000 lines of, and from which is derived the Heart Sutra, which is supposed to be the heart of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. That's about all I have to add.
So, what's the meaning? Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. What's the meaning?
Oh, well, it was, I read some stories about how Buddha would, some stories of how Buddha gave the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra to a flock of swans, and all of those swans went to be reincarnated as people in the next life because of just the inherent wisdom of it. And I don't know about you.
I don't really understand it.
Okay, that's okay.
But I like
Okay, how about you?
Oh, yeah.
You got
I wrote, yeah, the Heart Sutra.
Heart Sutra.
Yes.
Yeah. What's about?
Okay.
Anyway, so what's meant by the two truth? What's meant by emptiness?
Emptiness,
Is that nothingness?
that, what a lot of people think is
That's
nothingness.
the point. Is
But-
that right?
Right, they think it's nothingness, but it actually, it is really getting to the substance and the positive meaning of life. It's through emptiness, what we're doing is we're see, okay, let me read it here, then I'll explain it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay?
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
A person who successfully meditates on emptiness comes to recognize that nothing is good or bad. But thinking makes it so, makes something good or bad.
Why? Can you explain it? Why? Why nothing's good about this because of thinking? Why?
Well, because if I was to start thinking,
Okay.
I would take things out of the proportion of what they really are. When I start thinking my mentality, when I start thinking, there starts to be distractions because I'm going to form my own opinion, discriminate. I'm going to,
Right. Is it spell right?
let's see.
Discriminate.
Yeah. I would discriminate, and my opinions would change the truth of what it really is because I'm putting in my mind. Maybe I'm going a little bit too far. Maybe I better bag it up a bit. But I find out that emptiness is like, okay, like the part of meditation when you concentrate on the breathing that takes all abstraction thoughts out of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm more able to focus on what is really wisdom. You know, you're gonna have to help me with that piece right there.
You're on your way.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
this,
you can finish up your
yeah. And
just try to summarize it.
okay, I will. Yes. Now, can you pronounce this word Prajanparamita? Can you?
Oh, paramita.
Yes.
Paramita.
That's the one that I was trying to find out.
Always mean by perfection. Yeah, go ahead.
What is that? What that means? Perfection? Okay, great. Okay, so
The complete of perfection.
complete. Okay. So I had that, and in general, I understand that it's called emptiness or the great void. I think they're both the same meaning.
Okay.
The great void.
Yeah. Okay, what else?
And a lot of people think that it contains absolutely nothing. They think that it contains absolutely nothing. However, from a Buddhist perspective, the nature of the great void implies something which does not obstruct other things, in which all matters perform their own functions. Calmness and extinction are the opposite of rising and falling. So rising and falling, that's part of the worldly existence.
Yeah, that's good. Rising
and
and
falling.
falling. Rising and falling.
Part of the worldly existence.
Positive, negative, good, bad, and so forth.
Yes. So we want to alleviate that. We want to get beyond that towards trying to find perfect wisdom.
Okay. You done?
Yes.
Okay, let me tell you this story before I move on. This famous monk, when we study Zen tradition, we come across to him. His name is Rinji. He's very famous Zen master. When he was novice, one day he went to ask his master, his Zen master, a teacher. Teacher, I have my nose, I have my ears, I have my tongue, and so forth. How could this sutra? Or should I say, there's no eyes, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body and mind. What's wrong? I have my nose, I have my eyes. And so his teacher didn't reply anything. And when he grew up, he took off to see other teachers to learn Zen traditions and meditation. And later on, he became a great Zen master. Okay, now, of course, this kind of concept is not for common people, even common Buddhists to understand, unless you study. Now, what we talk about here too. Remember we talked about the right view, remember that? Right view and Eightfold Path, remember? Left right view, right intention and so forth. It's related to truth here, right view. Right, remember? And in conventional truth, we have to what? Recognize the law of karma. How it governs our action, our speech, and even our thought, right? What you do, what you get. That's conventional truth. And evidence is what we call impermanent. Impermanence. Nothing lasts forever. The chair, the book, and so forth, right? So that truth. Remember when I told you about the truth? The truth has happened in the past, it's happening now, and it will happen in the future. That's called the truth in Buddhist view. If something has happened in the past, it doesn't happen anymore, that's not the truth according to Buddhist view. Or if even it's true in the past and now, but it may not be true in the future, it may not be true. Make sense? Okay, so impermanent, everything is impermanent, right? Whether This has been existed in the past and now we know in the future, right? And we even our body too, right? And we have to live according to the law of karma. That's understandable, right? That is conventional way. And that is conventional way, like you say, things are rising and falling. Calmness, disturbance, successful and failing. Make sense? Good, bad, right? Love and hatred. That's a cycle. That belongs to conventional truth. Is that right?
Mhm.
Wealthy, poverty, same too. Understand that belong to what we call conventional truth. That means this happened in our life, right? But here, the reason why I say paramita is a profession of wisdom. The Buddha want to mention about this kind of ultimate truth. That is one of the important teaching of the Buddha, especially in higher traditions. Now, what is the ultimate truth? Things that go beyond this rise and fall. Things that go beyond love and hatred. Things that go beyond good and bad. Things that go beyond discrimination. And analysis or judgment. You understand that? When we have the judgment, when we have some kind of analysis of things, what happens? We will fall into the truth, right? Conventional truth. Good, bad, and so forth, right?
Mhm.
So here the Buddha talk about something that go beyond that kind of conventional truth. Simple. What is that? What do you call what? Buddha nature or pure nature. Goodness nature. In Buddhist view, Buddha nature. That is ultimate truth. That go beyond our analytical thinking or our intuition in all the meaning. Make sense? When you walk into the room, or when you walk into the a building or a house, wherever, the place that you have not visited before, you have that type of intuition on the spot. Before you analyze what happening in that room, how people organize the chair, table, and so forth, how people decorate their room and so forth. Make sense? That's your intuition. What's here? Make sense now? Let's go beyond your analytical thinking. Go beyond good and bad. Is it understandable? Right?
Yes.
But if, yeah, what happened?
But that's only done through meditation.
Yes, and we can understand too. And why? Why, when this sutra is negate, no eye, ears, no body, no form, flower, and so forth. Of course, what's meant by, let me go back a little bit. What's my emptiness is form. Form is emptiness. Let me put it this way. Let's say, just look at this. Let's look at this part, this white, right? Is that nothingness?
Mm.
What do you have here? That's just a line. And then races. Let's come back. Make sense now? You understand my analogy? Let me explain to you. Before it's nothingness, right? Let's put this frame. Right? This inside this frame only. This is white completely, right? Make sense? And I draw anything here, right? And this has, let's say, the snake or the worm and so forth, right? Now I erase this. This come back to emptiness, is that right? So that's what this one is for. They say that emptiness doesn't mean that nothingness. The things come because conditions. Things go because of condition. Things come because condition. Because I use my pen to draw the snake or the worms. Things come because of conditions. And things go because I erase it because of this condition too. Look, let me see here. This one, what do you call this?
Telephone.
No, this one says all right.
No.
What is that?
Well,
Remote control, right? Let me. Of course, I don't want to take it part. You feel distorted. So it will happen if I take part by part. This red button, if I take it out, can it be called remote control? If I take this yellow button out, or the white one out, so can they still be called remote control? Only when we put together message, we call this is remote control. Is that real? Is it real? Are you sure? It's real?
Is it true?
No, it's real or not? Is it real or
I would, no.
yes.
you guess so? How long can you use this remote control? Probably, let's say 10 years, 20 years, the max is 50 years, and after that, go to the garbage can. Is that real? You understand that? So, again, your laptop, your books, anything you see, it come because of condition. When we take them apart, like let's say your watch, right? We take them apart. Nothing you can call as a watch. Is that understandable? Is that clear? Right? So that's what we talk about ultimate truth here, not conventional truth. Oh, okay, when we talk about here, yes, it's remote control, we can use it, but it's only in temporary, in some periods of time. Make sense? It doesn't last forever. That's why we have impermanent here. Make sense?
What would be an example of ultimate truth?
Yeah, that when I try to talk again, I want to explain. So, again, so according to the principle of Sunyata emptiness, things come because of conditions. Things go because of conditions too. Everything doesn't have its own identity. You understand that? Because this like remote control on my laptop. If I this now I call this laptop, but when I take it out part by part, piece by piece, nothing can be called as laptop anymore. Make sense now, right?
And what kind of truth would that be?
That relates to the emptiness.
Okay.
That go beyond this conventional way. That in conventional way, right? We call it chair, the table. In our language, we have different, right? In French, what do you call the chair? What do you call a chair in French? Chair. And in Japanese, really? So it's different language, right? That label or this is a chair, but it's a temporary place, temporary connotation, or the words, right? You understand that? Okay? So again, emptiness here doesn't mean nothingness. When we take them apart, nothing we call as remote control, nothing we call as the chair, table, and so forth. That's the reason why it says that emptiness means things lack of its real identities. You understand that?
Emptiness means what now?
Lack, okay, here let me show you. Lack of real identity.
Okay.
It makes sense now?
Yes. Yes.
And that's why this is a lot of confusion here. The most important, the most misunderstood word in Buddhism. This article here. This is, if you read this, it's called. Now here. Okay, all phenomena in their own beings are empty. It doesn't mean that all phenomena are empty. This all beings just mean it doesn't stay separately from others. Now, okay, everything is a tentative expression of one seamless, ever-changing landscape. So, okay, let me move this way here. Okay, here. Okay, emptiness of essence You understand that? That means I told you, it does, even in our notion now, right? It's real, right? But 100 years from now, it won't be here. Is that real? That means it's empty of the essence. That means it never lasts forever. Things could not last forever, right? That phenomena that we experience have no inherent nature by themselves. We just label this remote control. We just label this is the table, right? So this is pinpoint, and yeah, you understand?
Notion of non-being and notions of being, and all things both exist or do not exist, and all things neither exist or do not exist. So they kind of, I mean, pretty much, they just cancel each other out is the way I see it.
Okay.
But, and the other thing was he was part of a very famous legend that he was befriended by Nagas, which are snake beings that live in the unseen realms. They appear in the Hindu and the Buddhist myths. The story is the Nagas had been guarding the sutras containing the teachings of the Buddha, which was hidden from mankind for a century. The Nagas gave the sutras and called them wisdom sutras. Am I saying it right, sutras? He took them back to the human world during enlightenment. He supposed.
Yeah.
And he also pronounced that the reality of our world is not an immaterial object, but is rather made up of the relationships between objects, and what he had to say about that stuff is very similar to modern views of quantum entanglement.
Quantum physics, right?
Yeah. That's all I got.
Good. That's just.
Okay, the only thing I have to add to that is part of the philosophy was represented in 4 positions. All things exist. Affirmation of being. All things do not exist.
You went down to the sea.
Right. Okay.
To get this sutra, the Professions of Wisdom Sutra, that's been drawn by Mahayana. And he is considered as the second Buddha. You know why? Because he is the main one who initiated the Mahayana movement, the Mahayana traditions of philosophy. And later on, when we talk about Zen traditions, Zen, Pure Land, Tantric,
Supposedly was the second Buddha.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I got other than what he said.
Thank you. I believe I missed the snake being.
It was like considered a serpent king or something.
Yeah.
And lived, he went up to the mountains and lived for, let me see, he went up to the mountains and lived, right, didn't he? And they called it the dragon's place under the sea, I guess is where he was supposedly for like, kind of until he reached enlightenment.
Yeah. Yeah, you see that his pictures, he called the dragons that protect him, the Naga dragons, or Naga, or the servant that protect him, according to legend.
Which works are and are not from, yeah. And one of his most important contributions was the concept of sunyata, or emptiness, and believed that sentient beings were devoid of a self and have no underlying essence. I was confused about all of that. Yeah. He was also important in the creation of the two truths doctrine, which states that there are 2 levels of reality within existence, one being an ultimate reality and one being a superficial reality.